Welcome back to the Sense of Life podcast. My name is Cody,
And I'm Joe.
and this is our inaugural episode of Season 3 and of 2024. Happy New Year, everyone.
Yep, Happy New Year, and hope everyone had a good Christmas.
Yeah, our last episode was on a couple Christmas classics starring Jimmy Stewart, and we tried to barrel our way through making some kind of cogent point. Hopefully, we ended up with one by the end.
Yeah.
If not, let us know in the comments of that video, and then we'll heart them or dislike them or something.
Yeah. I try to heart all the comments. Sometimes
Yeah.
I forget, though.
Yeah. Sometimes people leave really dumb comments, I've noticed.
Oh, yeah?
I've seen a couple.
Oh,
Not anyone that we know.
okay.
I don't think. I hope.
They were so dumb I forgot what it said, because I don't remember any
Yeah.
dumb comments.
Yeah, I think there was something about, on the Stephen King episode, but can't remember.
Oh, you know what? I do remember that. Someone had said something along the lines of, oh, fuck, I can't even remember. I think it was like, well, if you write such and such for so many years... I think that was Josh that left that comment.
Well, there was the Josh comment, and that was fine, but there was another one that was like, or maybe it was a comment on my tweet of the episode.
Maybe.
I don't know. Anyway, today we've got a couple Japanese films with one director we have talked about, Takeshi Kitano, in what I think is our best and most underseen episode. Not actually the most underseen episode, but the one that
as
should
far as
be
our
seen.
pride in the episode, it is easily
Yeah.
our least viewed as far as that is concerned.
Yes, and it's
yeah.
called The Silly Goose Principle. It was about a film called Asakusa Kid, and Takeshi Kitano's early work in Violent Cop, his
And
first
Boiling
film,
Point.
and Boiling Point. Today we are talking about a 1996 coming-of-age drama called Kids Return. And after that, we'll talk about another more experimental coming-of-age film from
Hideaki Anno.
Hideaki Anno of Neon Genesis Evangelion fame.
Yeah, I don't think I've seen anything of his.
I've seen Shin Godzilla and
Oh, you know
Shin
what?
Kamen Rider.
I've seen Shin Kamen Rider. You're right. I've seen that.
Yeah, that's a cool movie. I liked it.
It was really cool. Some questionable stuff in there in the middle that was just kind of like, eh. But
yeah,
the style of that movie is incredible.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're starting with Kids Return.
Yes.
So yeah, you had watched this. We both watched it over the weekend, but you watched it like a couple hours before I watched it, and you had said like getting real Asakusa Kid vibes from this.
Yes.
You'd combined
about the first 30 minutes. Yeah.
Yeah, you had said it was like Asakusa Kids mixed with Boiling Point, I think is how you worded it. And
yes.
I started watching it, I was like, oh yeah, I see it. Especially like the opening scene is pretty much exactly the same as Asakusa Kid, where it's like the two guys backstage getting ready to go and like do the manzai act.
Yeah. I just rewatched Asakusa Kid because I am working on something this week. Don't want to say anything yet, but hopefully something will occur. I don't know if I'll finish it this week because I'm also working on something else that's unrelated. But what is manzai? It's just like stand up, right? Or is it like this whole sketch thing?
It's I guess it's kind of like a sketch in the sense that stand up is also kind of like a sketch because it's just like material that you've repeated over and over and over again to the point where
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, it's essentially just like stand up, but you have like the trickster, and you've got like you've got the straight man who kind of like the comedy is in one character being kind of silly and the other person like chastising them for their silliness. Right, so you've got like the kind of interplay of those two kind of personalities. and obviously it's all like manufactured. It's all just a skit, as you put it.
Yeah.
So I think in Takeshi Kitano's career as a manzai guy, he was the one that often said the outrageous things, and his friend, whose name I can't remember, they both had the stage name was like Beat Takeshi and Beat whatever the other guy's name was. And
Beat Hiroshi something?
Was it Hiroshi? It might have been.
Guessing.
That guy was kind of the one that was like, you know, the one that would be like, hey, you know, what are you saying? You know, that's ridiculous.
Yeah,
and that's kind of manzai, I guess. I don't know if it's even still popular in Japan. I know it was like 70s and 80s. It was kind of like a newer act. I don't know if it's just seen as an old person thing now or what.
Sure. I wonder if manzai has gone the way of stand-up has here in the States and like in Australia and shit. Yeah. Where like you have a comedian like Nick Mullen or something that has quote-unquote stand-up, and then he has a podcast where he's just like real and funnier, and the stand-up is just like shit. I've never listened to Come Down, but I've heard it's good.
I've heard some bits in like isolated YouTube videos that I thought were funny.
Yeah. They were like, I think, was it Nick Mullen that dated Dasha from Red Scare or something?
No idea.
I don't know.
I barely know who these people
are. So this film was written, edited, directed, and not actually starring Takeshi Kitano because he had just had a motorcycle accident that left one side of his body paralyzed.
Yeah.
And when did this happen? Like,
well, the movie came out in 96. I don't know when.
So, like, is he like? Do you think he's like leaving the hospital, like, stay, and then just going to shoot a movie? Is he like? Is he like writing it during the stay at the hospital? I don't know. I'd be curious to know more information about that.
I have no idea. As far as I know, I just looked it up. The motorcycle crash that left him like, still to this day, he has like one side of his face isn't as expressive as the other side. He's gotten most of his like, the paralysis was not permanent, but I think he's still got some damage to his face from it. And
yeah.
That was in 1994, but I mean, he could have been writing this movie and like looking to cast it in 94, late 94.
Sure. Yeah, it says after undergoing extensive surgery and physical therapy, so he would have like done his whole hospital stay and shit.
Yeah,
and then he did the movie. So okay, that's sane.
You were hoping it was more insane?
No, I just was curious. I figure if someone like Takashi Miike does this, he's like being wheeled out on the hospital bed to like direct the action scene or whatever. That dude's a fucking psycho.
Yeah,
love him to death.
He's great. We're just bringing out all the sense of life usual Japanese director references here with Takashi Miike and all that. Is this Joe Hisaishi's first collaboration with Kitano, or was that?
You know, I was just about to mention him.
You know what? That was A Scene at the Sea, which was 1991. So this wasn't his first collaboration, but they were frequently collaborating together on the music for his films. Same with to pull out another famous name, Hayao Miyazaki.
He was the
Hisaishi did all the Studio Ghibli music.
Ghibli movies, yeah.
So
and the score of this movie is like one of the stars, I would say. It's amazing.
It was very good, yeah. It is kind of funny that like, I mean, I don't know how much work Hisaishi has done as far as like scoring movies. Probably a shitload. But
on a Letterboxd, it says he has composed 99 films.
yeah, that's a lot.
And one of those he wrote and directed, called Quartet.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I just think he's mostly known for the Ghibli stuff and probably the Kitano stuff as well. If you can consider Kitano, I mean, he's known amongst like film people.
Yeah.
But apparently he's not even really that known like by the young people in Japan, because people have this like it's like here, if like some Japanese guy came here to the West and was like, dude, John Ford. and, and people were like, what the fuck are you talking about? It's like the young people don't know. Not that fucking Kitano is as old as John Ford. That's probably a bad example. More accurate would be like if you went to Japan expecting everyone to know who Kurosawa was, but even he was influenced by John Ford.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The like quote unquote plot of this movie is fairly simple. It's about two high school dropouts, Masaru and Shinji, who try to find a direction in their lives. One tries to become a Yakuza lieutenant, and the other tries to become a boxer. So it's half coming of age, not half, like 1/3 coming of age, 1/3 Yakuza crime picture, and 1/3 like boxing movie, like Raging Bull, which I hate.
Ooh. I still need to actually watch Raging Bull. But I hear that is quite the controversial opinion to hate that film.
Yes, it is, and I stand by it.
Fair enough. Yeah. So as far as this movie goes, if you've watched like Kitano's early movies, like Violent Cop, Boiling Point, Hanabi, stuff like that.
Yeah.
You very much get a sense of his directing style and the kind of shots he likes repeating throughout his movies.
Right.
And this one is kind of no different, except it's not really. I mean, it's kind of like the other ones, but the violence in it is very subdued compared to something like Hanabi or Violent Cop.
Yeah, it's subdued, and like I think I wrote down in my notes like it's fucking baller that like the first gunshot that happens in this quote unquote crime movie is an hour and 4 minutes in, I think.
It's the part where they got the two guys like on the ground, right? And he has the guy like shoot them in the head. That was crazy.
A big thing I noticed with this film compared to one, Kitano's earlier work that we talked about, and two, Asakusa Kid, is I think at this point Kitano is really starting to understand composition and there's a lot of like really fantastic wide angles. Like there's the scene of them going back and forth in the bicycle of just it's almost like one of those paintings that what's his name shared in the aesthetics channel, of instead of like a boat, it's a bike going. You know what scene I'm talking about?
I think so, yeah.
Okay.
Is it the one where they're crossing the bridge, or like the one where they're out in like the schoolyard?
Well, there's the bridge ones where like it starts.
That's kind of repeated throughout the movie.
Yeah, the bridge one happens a lot where they're either coming forward or going away, and those are really great. And the one I'm talking about is in the schoolyard.
Yeah.
And it's you see like the front of the school. It kind of looks like an elementary school. This part, and it's just like them going right to left on the bicycle. And the other one I had picked up on was one, I noticed a lot of those like Kurosawa triangles in like the blocking of actors in this movie. And maybe it's just one of those like film bro things that I'm just now picking up on in movies. But you don't see it a lot in Asakusa Kid because it's good, obviously, but it's just kind of conventional. In this one, this movie feels really much more artistic in that like Kurosawa sense. And the other scene was, I can't remember exactly what's happening, but there is, it's framed in this alley, and there's two guys next to the wall, and I think three interrogating them. And I might try to find the scene because the movie's on YouTube. Actually, no, it's not. Don't take it down. um, there, I might try to find the scene and send it to you so we can like show it here. But there's just a really great kind of depth of the composition happening in this shot. It's hard for me to explain. Of it, it looks like almost like one of those like drawings of buildings that you see down the alleyway, and trying to think of the fucking word here where it like disappears at the at the center line. You do
The horizon.
Is this making any sense? The horizon, yeah.
I think you'll have to send me the scene so I can figure out what exactly you're referencing with that.
Okay, I'll have to look at it. The other thing, I think that's all I wanted to say about that. And before we get into like maybe like actual story here, there's this letterbox review that I read that I liked. It's from Low Res Wonder Bread, who is the co-host of this podcast called Movies.
Shout out to that guy.
Shout out to him. I forgot to like this review. Just did. It's a good podcast. I like it. There's a strong case to be made that Kid's Return is Kitano's most well-rounded film. His early attempts suffer an unfocused wobbliness from dividing his attention in front of and behind the camera. I suspect that Kid's Return helped him find a newfound stability that would allow him to make Hanabi the masterpiece it was only 1 year later. And I don't know if I can see the unfocused wobbliness in Boiling Point for sure.
Yeah.
Kid's Return feels like an evolution of Boiling Point.
Yeah, I still maintain that Violent Cop is like a really good movie.
Yeah, it's really solid. Yeah. But
even if he didn't necessarily write that one, or I don't think he edited that one either, but he did.
No.
It's interesting that he didn't edit that one because a lot of the editing choices in it feel quite similar to Hanabi when you watch that movie, and he did edit that movie. So maybe he learned a lot from his editor on his earlier works, going into editing later on.
Yeah.
I just have to assume that that's how that went. And I think you had mentioned actually that you were going to rewatch Hanabi at some point because like having a couple more Kitano movies, you know, actually under your belt, as it were, watching them, it's kind of you've got more of a sense of his aesthetics going into that movie to appreciate it more. Because I remember when we did what was the episode, the Silly Goose Principle, where we talked about his movies. You said that you liked Violent Cop more than Hanabi. So yes. I'm curious what you'll think of it going into it now.
Yeah, I'm sure I'd like it a lot more now because I think part of it was kind of a late watch party.
Maybe, yeah, we did watch that quite late at night, I believe.
I wasn't fully on board.
Yeah,
but now that I kind of have a grasp of his style and voice, I think I'd do a lot better watching it.
For sure. And this movie as well, there was a specific scene I wanted to talk about that kind of harkens back to the comedic elements of Hanabi and Violent Cop, where you've got, and even Boiling Point to a degree, where you've got the scene where those two guys in those green jumpsuits are at the gym.
Yeah.
And their friend shows up and he's like, I was fighting this guy and he kicked my ass. And they're like, let's go get him. And it's like, he's here with me. And he's like, what do you mean he's here with you? And they go outside, and he's like this anime, like fucking, like stereotype of a huge motherfucker. Like he's just towering over them. And you get like this POV shot from one of the guys, and then it switches to the POV of the big guy, and just looking at their faces. And you don't even see him hit the guy, but the next shot is just the guy on the ground, and then the other two are running away.
Right.
And that was funny. That was fucking hilarious.
Yeah, I liked how early on I think it's their math class, maybe. The version on YouTube, it seemed like the closed captioning writers just don't even bother with the explanation the teacher's giving of the subject.
Yeah, they didn't bother putting subtitles for the teacher. They were just like, yeah. I mean, if the actor, like the characters you're trying to focus on, are zoned out and not listening, I think it's actually more appropriate if you aren't a Japanese speaker, you don't fucking know what the person's saying either.
Yeah, no, it really worked for the movie. And any other time that teacher or any other teacher spoke, it showed the captions. But for that scene, I thought it was, one, funny, and two, kind of a interesting way to go about that.
Yeah, there was a point where the teacher just kind of blatantly tells them, like, yeah, you guys should just quit school now, like, you guys suck.
Yeah. There's this real, like, disdain for, like, the behavior of these boys specifically, but it felt more like a hatred of youth and being a guy.
Yeah, I mean, there were some other youths in the movie that were pretty shitty as well.
Yeah.
And they Masaru and Shinji kind of get the brunt of the teacher's wrath. And there's like, to be fair, they did like light a teacher's car on fire. So,
oh yeah,
it was like, and they were trying to say, like, during the scene, like, yeah, we didn't do it. And they're like, you were the only people there. It's like, yeah, but we didn't do it.
And they did that, like, effigy with, like, the, like, what was it, a fucking air horn for a cock or something.
Oh yeah, and they had it like dangling down from the roof, and it was just like the fucking tip of it was just like wiping against the window,
like, tapping the window.
And the teacher like opens the window and it's like, hey, get that shit out of here. Yeah. As far as like the movie, it kind of breaks down into, I guess, the first half. Is it half of the movie? I don't even think so. It's like the first 30 minutes of the movie, they're in school and they're kind of just like normal delinquents, and they meet like this Yakuza boss guy and his little crew at this like restaurant, and they buy them a beer, and they're kind of on friendly terms with them. And the funny thing is that the Yakuza boss character, who is played by the guy that played the dad in Audition.
Yeah.
He kind of like,
I love that guy.
he kind of just tells them, like, there's I can't remember the exact line of dialogue, but he kind of tells them that he doesn't want them to become gangsters.
Yeah.
Like, he knows that being a Yakuza is not good, but he's a Yakuza anyway.
Yeah, they think he's like really cool and badass, and really he's like kind of like a middle management, like night manager at Dairy Queen version of Yakuza.
Right, he just runs a small crew. Yeah. And he kind of like tries to convince them to not become like him. And they Masaru is the one that goes to the gym first, the boxing gym. And it kind of shows the difference in their character, in that Masaru is the first one to try it, but once he realizes that Shinji is better at being a boxer than him, he quits just on the spot. And immediately goes to the Yakuza, and he's like, I want to join with you guys. He's like, damn.
Yeah, and he sucks at that too.
He sucks at that too. So there's kind of just like this non-committal thing with his character where like the second he is faced with any adversity in a trying to better yourself in a task, he kind of just immediately quits. And Shinji just kind of, it says that he's like naturally good at it, but I think he just took the training a bit more seriously than Masaru did. And he kind of quickly, like, you see the potential of his character, and the other trainers at the gym do, but he kind of immediately falls in with this. What was his name? Started with an H. Are we gonna go with Hiroshi again? Was that character's name? Hayashi. Hayashi was his name.
Hitomi, who I think is in the other movie.
I think Hitomi is a woman's name.
Yeah.
Hayashi was the character's name, and he's like an older boxer at the same gym, and he basically just gets him to do all of his shitty habits of like drinking and like
I fucking hated that guy.
Bulimia and shit, like where he's got him like throwing up his food so that he can keep his weight down to stay in the appropriate like boxing weight class while still indulging in stuff. Just like this old has-been who is just like corrupting this youth that is showing potential. Yeah, that guy pissed me off the entire movie.
Just like out of like pure envy for this like guy's youth and like potential, just a total degenerate, like a real sense of the word about like destroying and decaying the success of a human being.
Yeah, and
probably the most evil character in this movie.
Yeah, in a movie with like people that commit murder.
Yeah, and, in a movie where like people get fucking killed, this motherfucker, I hate.
This guy was the worst. He,
yeah.
I mean, obviously, some blame lies on Shinji for even following the guy around, but right, I think he kind of always had Masaru by his side as like his best friend. So to have Masaru kind of just exit his life, he kind of just attached to the first person who was friendly with him after that, and it happened to be the worst motherfucker at the gym.
Yeah. And I mean, Masaru is not like the best person overall, and he probably, if not taken out of this situation, would probably go down that Hayashi path.
True.
Because they would like also like bully other kids in the school for like lunch money and shit.
Yeah, and they were not good influences.
Yeah. And one other funny scene from when they're in school is when they're trying to get into this porn theater.
Oh yeah.
And they keep like coming back with like different disguises.
Yeah, I like the part where they show up in like the office worker outfit, and it's like, oh, president, like the president of the company, and he shows up and he's just like, oh yes, I'm the president of the company. We'd like 3 tickets to this movie, and the lady's like, that'll be 3,600 yen, and they're like, but the student price is 1,000 yen each, and she's just like, are you students? They're like,
we're executives.
We're executives and students. Yes. And then she like gives them the tickets for the price anyway.
Yeah.
As they leave, she's like, fucking the youth these days.
Kids these days. Oh, it's so great.
Yeah, this movie, I mean, it's funny that Kitano is able to kind of tell these serious stories with comedy so seamlessly integrated into the script, where the tone can shift with seemingly very little effort, but it's probably immense skill that went into like actually being able to write that just so naturally.
Yeah, it's like it's a tonal shift that's not like what like Mike is known for, which is just like wide and aggressive tonal shifts, which are also really entertaining. But it's just like it flips on a dime between drama and comedy. But it never, you never think this movie is like a quote unquote comedy. It's just funny at times.
Yeah.
You really get Kitano's skill as an editor here, of just when like one perspective, as these perspectives switch, just when it almost becomes episodic, but not exactly, like right when the right when the certain part of this character story is becoming a little bit less interesting and we want to leave you hanging a bit, we transfer over to the other character's story, which I mean is BW Griffith film 101 with
Yeah.
cost cutting. But
Yeah.
it just, I don't know, there's a great rhythm to uh, the different sequences that happen between the two characters once they split, and I like that.
Yeah, it's the funny part about their two arcs is how high they climb in their respective like positions relatively quickly. Seemingly relatively quickly. The film does not give you like a sort of time frame as to how long the events are, but
Yeah,
the part that kind of got me laughing was like when you first see Masaru as a yakuza, he's kind of like the bottom of the food chain guy that like, oh, he lights the boss's cigarette, he stands when everyone else sits at the table. He's like, he's, you know, the newest of the new as far as like gangsters can be, and the lowest of the food chain. And then the next time he sees Shinji, he's at the gym and he's got literally like the entire fucking like t-shirt style yakuza tattoo, where it's like your entire upper arms, your back, and it's like going draping over the chest, that kind of tattoo. Yeah. It's like, holy shit. Like that is like years worth of like yakuza tattoos like on this guy. Just immediately the next time you see him, you're like, oh shit.
Yeah.
And I guess he kind of gets that because there was another character that was part of this little yakuza gang who is played by Susumu Terajima, who is a pretty regular guy in Kitano movies. He's the one that shoots the two guys in the head, and has to go to prison or something, or he's away for a bit. And while he's away, that's when Masaru kind of takes up his position within the gang, and like that's how he kind of rises up, is through the absence of that other guy. And he kind of comes back near the end of the movie, and the whole thing where like the downfall of the two characters, where Shinji his boxing career ends because, you know, he's been following this Hayashi guy's really shitty advice, and it's just destroyed him. He's not athletically capable anymore. And Masaru kind of lets his temper flare up after their boss gets killed. The
shocking scene in the movie, by the way.
Probably the funniest drive-by I've ever seen in a movie, because it's on a fucking bicycle.
Yeah, I did not see that gun coming. Like I was just like, oh, there's a guy on a bike, and he's got oh dear.
He was like walking to his car, and he was like holding like a bag, and it looked like he was carrying like groceries or something to his car. Yeah. And it just reminded me of the scene in The Godfather where Marlon Brando's character gets shot in the back while he's like at his car, and he was looking at like oranges or whatever. But much sillier, because the assailant is just a dude on a bicycle. Who just quickly, you know, bicycles away. And the two dudes that were there with the boss don't even bother chasing the guy down, and then they get the smackdown of the century immediately afterward, because it's like, why the fuck did you let that guy get away?
Right.
And there's like this big meeting with all of the Yakuza bosses that are there, including like the grand chairman or whatever. And Masaru kind of just freaks out, and he's just like, you know, if you guys are a bunch of pussies, I'll go fucking deal with this shit. And then he like storms out, and the like second in command guy is like, you know, that's not going to stand. You know, taking one or two of his fingers won't do. Like, he has to be killed. And the head guy is just like, oh no, it's fine. And then they just start talking about golf, and they're like having a cheery little conversation. They're like laughing together. And Masaru's downfall, where he's like caught by Terajima's character, and he's like he has everyone in the gang beat the shit out of him, like taking turns. I legit thought he died. I thought he was killed there for a second.
Masaru?
Yeah. Uh,
I think
when
I did too, if I'm remembering the exact part correctly.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah, I
he
thought
takes
he
out the
did. Yeah,
sword and he like slashes him.
yeah,
I
yeah,
thought he was dead. But then like the end of the movie is Masaru and Shinji are, friends again, and they're back in the schoolyard. And there's like new students that are looking down from the window at
yeah,
them. And the same teacher's there, and he's like, "Oh, it's those morons again."
yeah.
and
And they're like right back at. And actually, like the whole setup of the scene is mirrors the opening of the movie. The whole ending sequence is basically the beginning sequence again.
right,
And
and they kind of have this. The ending of the movie there's a bit of an uplifting message, I guess, where it's like they went through like this crazy sort of like rise and fall arc,
yeah,
and they kind of just think like, oh well, this is it, shit's fucked, our
yeah.
lives are over, and they kind of just like, no, this is,
No, it's just begun.
yeah, because it's a coming of age story, so they're
Yeah,
still young, they can still make something of themselves.
yeah.
Uh,
It's like a coming of age for like people in their like mid-20s.
yeah,
I don't know if the characters are in their mid-20s, but they fucking seem like it.
right.
By the end there. So it's a movie for the late bloomers.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah. It's kind of funny because he I guess it's revealed at the end with him living that he wasn't killed by the Yakuza, he was just kicked out.
yeah,
Um which is got to be interesting walking around as not a Yakuza with a full fucking body of tattoos.
right, yeah,
Like, what do you even do at that point? Like the stigma in Japan of having a tattoo, especially one like that. It's like at least it's like it wasn't like all the way down his arms. Like he could just wear long sleeves,
yeah,
keep doing his thing. Not that they really had a thing that they did. uh,
right,
so yeah. Overall, um, I guess the ending was uplifting in that they didn't die for their actions.
yeah,
They just had to. They suffered the consequences of following the paths that they did, but they're still young, so they have the ability to make something of themselves still.
yeah,
Even if everyone else still thinks of them as the same old idiots that they were when they were still
and
high
they
school
kind of are,
students. And they are. Yeah, they are.
um, yeah, just a really really beautiful movie, I thought,
Yeah,
and
I can see why someone like Takeshi Kitano would write this, especially like having seen Asakusa Kid and like
yeah,
knowing his backstory of being like a pretty rough type
yeah,
in his youth. There's a story from, I think it was in the 80s. It might have even been when his film career was first starting, where there was some sort of like person that had uh, either assaulted or said something rude to a female friend of his, and he like broke into their office. I don't know if you've heard this story.
no, I haven't.
Let me see if I can find it real quick.
Well, I think he also had a bit of a scandal. Oh, I'm yawning. Okay. I think he had I think it was either when Sonatine or Hanabi were coming out.
Yeah.
Um, he was cheating on his wife,
Okay.
and that became like a big scandal in Japan. um, and there was apparently for Hanabi. I think this is also in a video that Low Res Wonder Bread made about Kitano that I watched in preparation for this. Um, there was Hanabi. He was going to call it Kitano Volume 7.
Yeah.
That was going to be the name of the movie. Um, it's like, let's thank God that didn't happen, because that movie does not go to like Venice Film Festival or whatever. with the title Kitano number 7.
Right.
So yeah, he's an eccentric fellow.
Right. I tried looking for the thing that I was looking for, but I can't find it. I see a bunch of articles about someone attacking his car with a pickaxe, though. So I don't know what the deal is with that.
Maybe crime is legal in Japan too. Did they vote Democrat or something?
They must have. But yeah, no, very very good movie.
Yeah,
highly recommended.
Definitely recommend.
I still need to watch. There's a couple of movies between Boiling Point and Kids Return that I need to watch.
There's Sonatine and A Scene at the Sea. I think,
yeah,
with the two of them. Yeah,
two very different kinds of movies, to my understanding. Because A Scene at the Sea is about like a deaf guy. He's like a garbage collector or something, and he finds like a busted up surfboard on the beach, and he kind of gets this dream of becoming a surfer, and like that's the story of that movie. And Sonatine is about like a fucking degenerate Yakuza guy in like Okinawa or something.
Yeah, and Sonatine, I actually found this out. Sonatine was the one that Quentin Tarantino had put out for the Quentin Tarantino Presents thing that he got for Hero, the Zhang Yimou movie, the two Hostel movies.
Okay.
Yeah, so Tarantino kind of put Kitano on the map in America in the 90s. So shout out to the homeboy.
Yeah. It's you always need that guy with the hookup for the foreign film market. To
that guy being Quentin Tarantino.
I mean, that guy used to be like George Lucas and other fucking directors like that. And I guess Tarantino is the dude for his time and place, as it were.
Yeah, and Tarantino kind of makes the point that all of Kitano's crime films are kind of very similar to what, like stylistically similar to what Tarantino was trying to do with like Reservoir Dogs and Pulp Fiction.
Right.
And so I can kind of see the connection there that he made.
Yeah.
But yeah, Kids Return. It is currently on YouTube. Hopefully it stays there.
Yeah, it's I guess currently free to watch on YouTube.
Yeah.
Is it like it's like 360p, isn't it? Or was that Love and Pop? That's 360p.
I think that was Love and Pop.
Okay, yeah.
Speaking of which, Love and Pop. This is a film co-written and directed by Hideaki Anno. It is Hideaki Anno's first live-action film because he's known as an anime director and writer.
Mm-hmm.
Best known for Neon Genesis Evangelion, which I have not seen, and I need to.
Yeah. I think 2024, I mean, maybe not for the pod, but like, just personally, I kind of want to watch more like anime stuff.
Yeah, I kind of want to read more manga too.
Oh.
Yeah.
That should be interesting.
I heard that ew in there.
That was not an ew, that was an oh.
Oh.
It was not an,
okay.
It was not an ew as in like a disgust. It was like
yucky.
Yeah. This movie, speaking of yucky, this movie is fucked up.
This is crazy movie. It's based on the novel Topaz 2, which I think is actually a collection of short stories. I'm not 100% sure.
Mm-hmm.
By Ryu Murakami, who we talked about in the audition episode.
Yeah.
And the novel has not been translated in English, to my knowledge.
Right.
And I think Murakami did a version of this as a movie himself called Tokyo Decadence. That might be a different book, though. I don't know.
Right. We are really orbiting around like a very small group of Japanese directors and writers with these episodes.
Yeah.
It's all Kitano, Miike, Murakami.
Kitano, Miike, Murakami, Anno.
Yeah.
Who have we missed? Kurosawa.
The other one.
The other Kurosawa.
Yeah. The funny thing is, our episode about Kiyoshi Kurosawa, where we just called it Kurosawa, no, the other one, and then the thumbnail is Akira Kurosawa with like an X over his face.
Yeah.
might be sending the wrong message, because just at a glance at that video, if you didn't know what we do, you would think that that's like an anti Akira Kurosawa video because of the red X over his face.
Maybe we should do an Akira Kurosawa episode and put like
same thumbnail but like a green check mark over his face.
Yeah.
That'd be pretty funny.
Yeah.
They would just call that one Kurosawa.
The right one.
The right one.
Yeah.
That would suck.
And we will do it.
Yeah, at some point.
Happen.
I don't know what Akira Kurosawa movies we would do.
I've got a few ideas, but we can figure that out later. This is a very experimental, another coming of age film. It is shot almost entirely on handheld digital cameras. Contains
had a budget of like $100.
Yeah, had a budget of like a blow job in the bathroom or something.
Yeah, it was a movie fueled by blowjobs in the bathroom.
Yeah.
It's like how the first Mad Max was fueled by like 12 packs of beer.
Yeah.
Can we use your truck for this shot? Here's some beer. Yeah, sure. Just don't fuck up my truck.
So, yeah, go off, King.
Proceeds to fuck up their truck.
Well, yeah. There's the Wikipedia page calls it, quote, unorthodox camera work, unquote.
No kidding.
I call it psychotic camera work. I loved this movie. I thought it was great. What did you think?
I mean, I thought it was pretty good.
Yeah.
The description of the camera work as psychotic is pretty accurate. Pretty much.
Yeah.
It is like a movie where the angle of the shot is changed every like half a second.
Yeah,
and it's like every single time it's a new angle that you have not expected to ever see a camera put.
Yeah,
like, okay.
And it's like almost never used again. It's like every shot is like a different camera angle.
Right. I thought it was actually pretty cool.
Yeah.
I knew I was in for some shit when they had a shot of the camera in the girl's skirt pointed at the floor when she was walking out of her room at the beginning of the movie. I was like, this is some crazy shit.
Insane.
And
it's like in the best way, this like feels like someone trying to figure out how to make a movie.
Right.
And like kind of succeeding.
Yeah, it's interesting too because it's not even like it's his first. I guess it is his first work where he's like a physical director directing things in real spaces, because he's like he did the animated he did Neon Genesis Evangelion as his first thing that he directed.
Not his first. He had directed other stuff before that, I think. And he had worked on other stuff too.
Oh, yeah, sorry. He did a lot of short films and stuff
he was,
before...
He was an anime guy.
Yeah. And this is not anime, but it is fucking crazy. And it's kind of just like this story following these 4 girls that do... I guess in Japan it's called enko, which means like dating for money.
Yeah, like I think they called it like subsidized dating.
Subsidized dating was how the subtitles kind of translated the term. But yeah, I think this is like, as far as like a cultural critique, if you could call this movie that, it's definitely like the ultimate takedown of that as just like a concept.
Sure.
Because the shit that happens to the main girl in this movie, you're just like, this is fucking awful. Like, if this happened to anyone you knew, you would just be like disgusted and just like sad just forever.
Yeah, that sequence in the video store was wild.
Yeah.
I like there was a lot of the men in the movie up until the kind of climax in the video store. Phrasing.
The literal climax in the video store.
Yeah.
Awful.
Like a lot of the guys they meet, I don't know, I kind of felt bad for them.
Yeah.
Like obviously they're like doing some shady shit, but it's like they didn't really like touch them or anything.
Yeah,
It was just
they just
they were
seem
just kind
really
of lonely.
sad.
Like, yeah,
And I mean, this movie is definitely about the kind of post bubble economy when it popped, as
yeah,
it were, um, and kind of like the lost decade, and just the kind of overall depressing tone of the whole 90s in general in Japan. Um,
yeah.
and the kind of, I mean, culturally, I don't think they've even really recovered from that since, because the loneliness problem in Japan has just gotten exponentially worse.
And
And
now they're like exporting it, and
to
we
some
have it here.
to some degree, it's even worse here now.
Yeah,
And the you do feel bad for the first few guys, but then there's like
yeah,
the dude that takes her to the video store, and the guy after that, Captain EO was his name, which I for like a decent amount of that movie, I thought they were like, they bleeped out his name, and they bleeped
yeah.
out the name of his like doll that he carried around, and I was like, what the fuck is the deal with that? Is it like, is he like saying some like sexual
It's
shit? But then I
no, it's a
realized it's
yeah,
literally just copyrighted material for a
yeah,
Disney short movie that was written by George Lucas and shown at Disney World, called Captain EO, and he has a little doll, or the character in the movie is called Captain EO, named himself after the character in the movie, played by Michael Jackson. um, and there's like a little like scraggly sidekick character that's called Fuzzball in that, and that's what he was calling the doll. But it was just like, it was like censored ball, and I was like, is this some like sexual thing? What the fuck is going on? But
yeah.
I
I
realized what
remember
it was
looking
about
up.
like halfway through, and I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, um, the I think up until the guy that has them chew up the grapes and spit them out. um, that's the first guy that you're like, okay, yeah, I don't feel bad for this guy. I'm just kind of disturbed.
Yeah,
Um,
there's kind of a line
although
in there where
I
like,
was laughing.
yeah, I was like, what the fuck is he talking about right now? And there's kind of the immediate scene after that where they kind of just like, they're like, yeah, we don't talk about this. We don't want to know why there's a guy out there that is having high school girls chew on a grape and then like keeping it as a specimen in a little jar.
Yeah,
We don't want to know why he's doing that. And it's for the
yeah,
best that we don't know. So it's like just fucking weird shit.
yeah.
Um,
I think the best part of the movie is, um, not a specific part, just like the concept in the movie of Hiromi, who's the main girl.
yeah.
She wants this topaz ring. For
Yes.
what reason? Don't really know. I think she just thinks it's pretty.
Mm-hmm.
And it's on sale for, I think it's 120,000 yen.
I think it was
And the
128,000. But yeah.
128,000 yen, which is like 100, what is it, like 10, 1200, $12,000 in
Get the
US?
old
Something like that.
yen
Doesn't,
to US dollars. 128,000. That's like $900.
oh, okay. um, so it's a $900 ring. And throughout the movie, there's these like little like title cards, like it's like a silent film of
Yeah.
like, she has 40,000 yen, 80,000 remaining.
Yeah, she needs to get 83,000 yen if she wants to buy this. And there's a part where it like it deducts a little bit because she bought like a tea or something.
Oh yeah,
And uh she there's also, it uses that same title card deal when she's talking to someone on the phone at one point as well. She's talking on like a
yes,
payphone,
yeah,
and
yeah,
it does the same sort of like card for the person's dialogue on the other line, or the other end of the line, which I thought was neat. Um,
yeah. The So she's doing this whole thing for this topaz ring, and so she like continues to do um more and more degenerate shit. Um, and you kind of have this like dichotomy of like, is she kind of like, does she know what she's getting into?
right.
Um, and evidently she doesn't, but she keeps like going further down the rabbit hole for like $900.
Yeah,
It's
it is just a sad state of affairs in this movie. Like,
yeah,
it kind of points to like the aim of her character doing all this horrible shit that is just like degrading herself and just destroying her self-worth is for a ring that basically means nothing. And it's just like a thing that she wanted. And there's a line near the end of the movie when she goes home, and I guess spoiler alert, she doesn't get the ring. She doesn't get enough money to get the ring, and she just goes home.
yeah,
And she's kind of like laying in bed, and she kind of thinks to herself like, you know, even you know, all of her friends, the other three characters, they have like something they're interested in, and I guess this is kind of the crossover thematic point of these two movies, is that like Kids Return is kind of this like these two aimless characters start pursuing something and destroy themselves in the pursuit of it, and then they end up with nothing, and they're back where they started. And this movie kind of has her friends are, one of them wants to be a professional dancer, one is really interested in computers, and one of them is like older than the other ones and is going to be moving away soon. So the main character kind of thinks to herself like, you know, well, when she wanted to be a dancer, I could have, you know, kept doing the same thing with her, but I stopped. And that's kind of like what Masaru did in Kids Return with the boxing, is kind of her and Masaru as characters, they kind of were faced with the adversity of trying to succeed in something, and they hit a wall, and instead of getting up again, they kind of just stopped. And I guess both movies, as sort of like set in the post-bubble economy, the lost decade, they kind of just don't know what to do with their lives. And even the thing that she was trying to attain was just a meaningless material thing, just a ring that had no value. It wouldn't even have sentimental value. It's not like a ring that was given to you by like a loved one or whatever. It was just a thing she wanted. That, and then she says even the desire for that would fade away at some point, even if she did get it. So like, what would be the point of that? And that's just kind of the movie ends with, just sort of like this depressing kind of like realization that she has no aim. And
well, it ends with this like music video of the
where all the shit that she had on her bed starts like hovering around, and then she's hovering. It was weird, very strange. And then,
there's that, and
then she's like describing a dream that she had, and it's following the little toy train that her dad was setting up in their house. And then it's just them walking, her and her three friends walking down this super long alley. As the credits roll.
To this like music video theme song.
We kind of skipped over the Captain EO character and the video store scene. We just alluded to it. But like the thing where really after the grape thing where they all chew on this grape and then spit it back out. Like her friends kind of leave the movie at that point, and she keeps going by herself. And I think one of her friends that was doing this like subsidized dating thing kind of secret, like tells her the secret that like she has, you know, gone all the way, as it were, with people that she's met up with many times doing this, but she doesn't tell her other friends about it. Right. And that's kind of like, I guess that as her friends leave, she kind of starts doing that, but not really. Like, she almost does. But then, like, the weirdest of all the creeps actually decides to, like, tell her to fucking stop doing this shit. That was very fucking strange. Like, she meets up with that one dude, and he takes her to the video store, and then they go to the adult video section, and then he like sticks her hand in his pocket, and he just like,
jerks himself off.
That scene was fucking awful. It went
It's
on for
crazy.
like several minutes too, which was, and one of the shots was the 4 different security cameras of the video store,
Yeah,
and you get like the
and
front and back view of this happening,
yeah,
and
and I remember the names of those cameras were like pretty funny. There was anime, adult 1, adult 2, and then Serpico or Pacino or something.
I thought it said pachinko, like the.
Oh, okay. I was like, Pacino?
I have no idea.
Is this their Al Pacino collection?
They have the the Pacino section. Could you imagine?
Because everybody tries to fuck in the Al Pacino section of video store.
Yeah.
Oh,
Very very
yeah,
depressing scene, and she kind of runs away.
yeah,
And like the next shot is her washing her hand because not only did the guy like jerk himself off with her hand through his pocket, but like I guess there was a hole in his pocket, so it was just her bare hand in there, and yeah, she like runs out of the store.
yeah.
Very very fucked up scene. Did not enjoy it.
It was crazy.
And the Captain EO guy, who is, I've seen that guy in a couple movies. He was in he plays the main guy in Ichi the Killer, the one with the scars on his cheeks that like open his mouth really wide.
Ichi?
No, Ichi is that's not Ichi.
Oh, right. Yeah.
He was the guy
been a
we
while.
thought was Ichi when we watched the movie until we realized that
Yeah.
Ichi is actually like that weird dude with the fucking like sports gear outfit or whatever.
Yeah.
Um
Yeah. Okay.
and
Yeah.
he's
been a
also
while.
in another Kitano movie called Zatoichi,
The Blind
uh,
Swordsman.
the Blind Swordsman. His 2003 film adaptation of that, which is like a long-running like anime manga thing. Zatoichi
I think there are a lot of movies
films,
that were made. Too.
yeah.
Yeah.
I thought that movie was pretty good. The
I haven't seen
CGI in it is pretty bad. 2003.
Yeah.
It's not just 2003 CGI. It's like 2003 Japan CGI, which is like a lower tier of shit.
Yeah.
But it's like really shitty CGI in a really well directed movie, so it's kind of weird.
Right. Yeah.
But he plays like this sort of rival character to Zatoichi. He's like a really talented Ronin. But yeah, he's in that movie too. And in this, he looks like that fucking. Who's that? I don't even remember the fucking character or the singer's name. He looks like that fucking guy with the big hat.
Fuck if I know, man.
Yeah, I don't remember. It was he like takes her to a love hotel, which is always a good sign. Taking
Yeah.
a like 16-year-old character to a love hotel. That's great.
What could possibly go wrong?
Yeah, what could possibly go wrong here? A defenseless 16-year-old follows an adult man into a fucking love hotel.
Before you go on, I wrote down a couple of the titles of the porn
naturally
movies that showed up.
Isn't it there's a Twitter account that I follow that is like Japanese adult video titles, and it's like it's always like a sentence. Like, what the fuck are you doing?
One of them was a train of gropers. I get so wet.
Yeah.
Rape and rape and rape.
Yeah. One of them was.
I think that was all I wrote down.
There was one there that was called like, if my back goes out, I've got my mouth, which is just fucking retarded. Like the whoever's naming these, it's awful. It's just awful.
Oh,
be
God.
more succinct with your pornographic titles.
Yeah, rape to the power of 3.
To the power of 3. Holy shit!
Rape cubed.
Yeah. So yeah, he takes her to this love hotel, and he has his little fuzzball toy, which is pixelated in the movie because
Yeah.
I guess they like shot the movie with all the copyrighted, like the doll is just straight up like a doll of the character from Captain EO, the Disney short film.
Yeah.
So I guess when they were trying to release the movie, it was like, yeah, this is what we shot, but what we shot contains copyrighted material by the most litigious fucking company besides Nintendo. So we better just pixelate the doll and bleep everyone every time he says the name.
Right.
And she like fixes the doll, and I guess this guy, on top of being like a fucking pervert creep, I guess had this weird sort of like appreciation for her fixing the doll. So instead of stealing her money and like raping her, and like he had like a stun gun, he had like a little taser. He was gonna like tase her with it and then steal her stuff. He decides to berate her for doing what she's doing instead, and then he gives her like 4 coins instead of giving her the like 40,000 yen he was gonna give her. And then he just leaves.
Yep.
Fucking bizarre movie.
Yeah, and Hiromi needs to return this cell phone that she got earlier on in the movie from a gay guy named Kobayashi,
right?
That just wants her to like procure like teenage boys for Kobayashi to fuck.
Yeah, that was the funny part where it's like the facilitation of this whole subsidized dating is just this gay guy who wants to. I don't even necessarily know if he wants to like hook up with the guys. It sounded like he just wanted them to get voice messages from the guys so he could like hear it. Like he was also a weird perv in that sense as well. Like he's not even doing anything like with them. He's just like he's listening to the recordings of them.
Yeah,
because he also has like this boyfriend character that also calls at some point, and he's just like he like breaks up with him through talking to the main character on the phone. He's like, "Tell him I quit." Also, his cat is really sick, and she's like, "His cat?" He's like, "Yeah, there's green shit coming out of his eyes." What the fuck is this movie?
If nothing else, there's a lot of like flips from there's like flips from widescreen to full screen, a lot of distorted lenses, like the fisheye thing.
Mm-hmm. There's parts where like the main character is scrunched into like a single pillar in the middle of the screen, and it's just like black on either side.
Yeah, it almost looks like a fucking like Instagram video in like 1998.
Yeah, Hideaki Anno accidentally he accidentally filmed on vertical with his iPhone for one scene, and they had just stick it in there.
Hideaki Anno is the architect of TikTok and our destruction. He's like Oppenheimer, but with TikTok.
Right.
If there is the one scene where they're like doing the dance break with like the Japanese wiggers. That was
Are we gonna keep the word wigger in the video?
Yeah, sure, why not?
But they aren't. Never mind.
The jiggers.
We're not going down this road again. We went through this yesterday. Yeah, the dancing. There was one part where they meet this really fucking weird guy who it's almost like he was trying to do like a sales pitch for them to come over to his house, and he like cooked a shit ton of food for them. Do you remember? You know the one I'm talking about?
Yes.
He had like longer hair, and they walk by him, and then he like comes up behind them and puts his hand on their shoulders, and he's like, ladies, you know, you should really come and hang out with me at my house. I've got, you know, I'm gonna cook you some food, and he says, and it's all for 5,000 yen, and they like try to keep walking, and he's like 6,000, and then they're trying to walk up the stairs, and he like gets on his knees and he blocks the entire stairway with his arms. He's like 7,000. And then the next shot is them eating like fucking spaghetti or whatever at his house.
Yeah.
Just bizarre.
And he doesn't do anything else as far as I remember, he just wants to cook them food.
Yeah, I think there's quite the industry in Japan of like dudes that just pay money to hang out with women. They don't even do anything.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
there's probably just like some layer there where they're like maybe they will, maybe they won't, kind of thing.
Yeah. Probably.
That's like the whole cabaret club industry over there, where it's just like you pay money to drink next to a lady, and you pay for her drinks, and
hostessing. They call
yeah,
it.
yeah.
But as far as I know, that they don't actually do anything unless they like want to after hours or something.
Right. Yeah. So
if nothing else, this is a movie that like makes you want to like think about how to make a movie and like go out and do like a bunch of crazy shit to put something together and show someone.
yeah, I haven't been able to find anything about like what the budget was for this movie, but it's readily apparent that it was quite low budget, and the experimental nature was just like thoroughly throughout every aspect of this movie. There's like a bunch of like classical music that plays throughout the movie as well, presumably because they didn't have the money to pay for licensing of other music.
Which is kind of a cool technique, and a lot of it was diegetic music, like people just playing classical records.
That's
which
true.
Is a thing that people definitely do.
Yeah.
And it's put out by the Toei company, which I think this is considered part of the V Cinema thing, but maybe not. I don't know.
Right. Apparently, an English DVD version was released by Kino on Video, so hey, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, Kino Corner put out.
Yeah. In 2004, when he was like, I don't know, 8.
12? I don't know. The other funny thing is on the YouTube upload, this is another one that's on YouTube. Hopefully it stays there. One of the comments on there was someone who I guess they hadn't heard of Hideaki Anno. And they were like, I just thought this was a funny little story about girls doing girly things. And I responded with, it is.
Oh, you responded to the comment?
Yeah.
Let me see if I can find it right now. I'm looking at it. Where I don't see it. Oh, there it is. Yeah, it is. Holy shit. That rules.
Yeah. Oh my god, I wasn't expecting this. I thought it was going to be a silly little movie about high school girls doing girly things. It is. No response.
Yeah, no response to that. It, very strange. I mean, I guess both of these movies are free, so, check them out. I definitely liked Kids Return more than Love and Pop. It's easier to watch, even though some of the subject matter is a lot darker, like murder. They were both pretty enjoyable watches, I'd say.
Yeah, I really love them both, and that's kind of the topic for today. Do we have anything else we want to do?
I don't think so. Other than, I guess since we talked about Takeshi Kitano in this video a lot, check out Asakusa Kid.
Yeah.
I guess that's the message to take away from this video is watch a different movie that has nothing to do with the subject of this video.
But also watch our episode, The Silly Goose Principle.
Right, yeah.
And also watch all our other episodes and like and comment and subscribe and
I hear those things really help with the algorithm and all that shit.
Yeah. Because we like shoot ourselves in the foot with these like psychotic titles. But I was talking to the Agitator guys over in the Agitator Discord, and they kind of thought like they've done the like title the episode like with like the movie title, and then they've done the title the episode with the like psychotic title, which is what we do.
Right.
And there's not really a big change in like
actual viewership numbers and shit like that?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, it kind of stays the same. So I think the way we're going is all right. We just need people to watch. So
Yeah.
and listen, because we're also on Spotify and Apple. So leave a review on those because that I think at least I know on Apple that helps the similar thing. It helps get into like the recommendation feed.
Hmm.
Uh, and yeah, we'll be back next week with a couple movies. I think I remember what they are, but we'll leave it as a surprise.
Cool.
Happy New Year again, and hoping for a good 2024.
Yeah. See you next time.